We all have different fears, whether it's spiders, water, maybe even flying. How we handle those fears is very different for most people. Joining me now is Brian Morris. He is the co-creator of a company called Flight Deck. This specifically focuses on, Brian, the fear of flying, and this is a fear that you have. Share with us a little bit about how you've developed this fear of flying, how long you've had it for.
Yeah, so I had a severe fear of flying. When I was a kid on my first flight, it was very turbulent. It was very scary for me as probably a 12-year-old kid. And just from that day forward, I had this extreme fear of flying. And as I got older, it became worse and worse. So I had the opportunity to fly to Florida to marry a couple of friends of mine because I'm ordained to be able to marry people. And I realized that I didn't know if I was going to be able to get on the plane and actually get to Florida to be at the wedding. So I just started doing a lot of research about the fear of flying and how I could get over my fear of flying. And that's kind of it. I mean, it's been really debilitating for me. There's been many times I've gotten on flights and gotten off the flight before they took off. And it's been really tough. I mean, I'm that guy who sits on the plane sweating and sometimes crying and needing a lot of attention from the flight crew. And so I knew that I just needed to do something to get over this, and also wanted to live a better life. I want to be able to travel and see the world and just enjoy myself more.
And so you created a product called Flight Deck. These are essentially what they look like. They're playing cards, but tell us what's in this deck of cards and how you came up with this idea.
Yeah, so when I was dealing with my fear of flying, I was writing down all of the information that I was learning, like the sensations that a plane would make, the sounds a plane would make, and every step of what I should expect while I was on a plane. And I decided I was going to take these 3x5 cards. I was going to write down all this information, and then I was going to use it on my flight. And it actually worked. So, I would get on the plane and I would pull up my first card, and it would say something like, they're going to do a emergency demonstration about what to do if the plane crashes. And I don't know if you think about this, but as someone who has a fear of flying, that would trigger me, because I would think, why are they telling us this if this plane is safe? We don't really need to know what to do in a plane crash. And so that would trigger me. So my first card literally says they're going to do an emergency demonstration, and this is completely normal. They do it on every flight, and there's nothing to worry about. And when you have anxiety, a lot of times you can't think correctly and you may forget things. And so it may sound silly that I needed to remind myself that that demonstration was just something they do every flight. But it really worked for me, because I would read the card and just remind myself, hey, this is normal. And then the cards will just walk you through things like the plane's going to taxi, the plane's going to take off, and the plane's going to have a little drop as it takes off. And all of these things are normal. There were other things that would happen on the plane that would trigger me. I don't know if you've noticed this or not before when you're flying, but the lights will blink on the plane as it starts to move away from the airport. And what's happening is the plane is using what would be called shore power, or power from maybe the building or a generator. And then they switch over to airplane power, which is power from the engines. And when it switches, the lights will blink, or the air conditioning might turn off or on. And that would make me nervous, because I would think, well, we don't have enough power to keep this plane going. We're going to be up 30,000 feet in the air, and, you've got lights blinking. And so just by having the card that would tell me, hey, these are normal things. The lights are going to flicker. The air conditioner might turn off and on. And that would help me just to know and remind myself that those things were normal.
Brian, go ahead and show us this deck of cards. You've really built it like a true deck of cards. It's got 52 cards in it. And go ahead and show us kind of what these cards look like.
Yes,
And
that's the cover right there. So this is the box of cards. It's got a little description on the back, and that what they actually look like out of the box are just, regular cards. And this set I've created has a ring. So it kind of keeps the cards together. And then this is what the cards look like.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen, since there have been so many reports of, we've talked about the door plug blowing out that Alaska Airlines flight that was over Portland, severe turbulence on one plane where one person died. Since we've had these recent situations, are you seeing an increase in terms of people reporting fear of flying? I know you're in several fear of flying groups.
Yeah. And in those groups, that's mostly what people are talking about right now. They're asking each other and experts that are in the groups. There's a lot of pilots that'll drop into the groups and answer questions. And most of the questions are, is aircraft safe? Is a specific aircraft safe? What about severe turbulence? Things like that. So people are really, really talking about turbulence right now. I think it is probably one of the number one fears for people that have a fear of flying is turbulence.
Where can people go to get the cards?
Yeah, so we have a website that's flightdeck365.com, and it has all the information on there. And there's a link to our store, and our store has all the different products. There's a download. If you've got a flight tomorrow, you can download these cards today. If you can use them today, you can use them tomorrow. We've got cards that are in a deck. We've got cards that are in a ring. We've got cases that you can put them in. So we've really thought this through a lot to make this easy for people that have a fear of flying to be able to use these cards and help with their fear of flying.
Okay, Brian, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing about your fear of flying and your intent to help other people, and also creating the flight deck. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Holly.